Today, I am going to be talking about something that you might be interested in as a student. In one of my previous videos on this international student series, one question came which says that I should make a video about the cost of feeding, and I decided to just do a general video on cost of living and what it cost me as a student living here in Edinburgh to survive in a typical month. Hello everyone, my name is Veronica and you are welcome back to another video on the International Student series. What I'm going to be doing is very simple, but before I get into that, I would like to encourage you to subscribe and turn on your notification bell for this channel. I want to thank all of my very loyal subscribers. You guys have been with me from the beginning when I started with the video about getting to know me up until now, and I also want to encourage potential subscribers like you that might be watching who have not yet subscribed to this channel. Please subscribe, join the family, and engage with me. I'd like to know you. I'd like to be a part of your world by answering questions from you, relating with you, and all of that. So if you have any questions that you have for me, or if you have any video ideas that you have in mind for me to make, do not restrain, just drop the ideas in the comments and I'll add them to my list. So subscribe, comment, share, like, and engage with me. It will encourage me to continue. So in today's video, what I'll be doing is to take you through the typical spending I have each month as a student. For some of you that have been asking me, what school are you in? What course are you studying? What are you doing? You keep saying you're a student. Well, I am a student in Heriot Watt University, and I am currently pursuing my master's in finance. Actually, I'll be done in no time. I'm rounding up, and I'm just trying to put all of this information together for new guys that will be coming in by next month or in January, and on and on like that. So if you fall in this category, or if you know people that fall in this category, make sure that you share this video with them. Make sure that you watch this video even up to the end, and I am very sure that you will learn something that will prepare you ahead for your stay in school. Alright, it's time now to bring out your calculators, because you might need to punch some numbers on your calculators and see how the life of a student is here in Edinburgh or in UK. Please, this is for you to note that it's not general. It's not everywhere. Whatever price I'll be giving you, it's not general. You might go to another part of the UK, it's different. Even in a similar part, you might be in a different school, in a different area, and probably the cost of living has just gone higher than what it is now. So don't be surprised. But this will just be a guide. It will tell you what to prepare for, what not to prepare for, and just know that even if things change wherever you are, this is just to be like a guide, right? So please and please, we are all different, but use this video as a guide because this is my own personal experience. So I'm going to be taking you through the bills that you come across in a typical month. I'll start from the very important ones and then we'll move down to the less important ones. Those ones will just vary based on the kind of person you are and how you decide to, just blend in things. There's some things you can avoid, there's some that you can't avoid. And I'm going to be starting with the very first one that you can't really avoid except you have someone already in the UK probably to stay with, and that is your rent. If you are going to be coming in as a student, the very first bill or very first expense that you should have in mind is your rent. And because I schooled in Edinburgh, in my previous videos I also mentioned that the housing system in Edinburgh is quite tight, and because Edinburgh is kind of a major city, things here are quite on the high side. If you're going to be renting an apartment, there are two options. It's either you have a flat, you have a whole house to yourself, or you have a shared apartment. When I came in, I didn't have so many options. I had to go for the shared apartment. So in a shared apartment, honestly, like I said in my last video, is a different ballgame entirely. It might not be as conducive as having a whole flat to yourself. So what would usually happen is that you're either sharing both your kitchen and your toilet and bathroom, or you're sharing only your kitchen and you have your toilet and bathroom to yourself, but you have your room to yourself, just that you'll be sharing those other amenities with the other neighbors or tenants, what have you. You'll be sharing it with them, and it's not as easy as I just said. It's okay, there'll be different people with different character, but that's for another video. If you want me to share my shared apartment experience with you, just request, I'll add it to my list. But for now, let's focus on the bill. So in a typical flat, if you're going to go for a flat, if you are lucky to get one, it's very possible, but it's quite difficult. But if you're lucky to get one, you'll be looking at between £800 to maybe £1,200. And the reason why I said 800, actually, I'm going to explain, is because there are some houses that would only give you the house rent alone without bills. That means it's not bills inclusive. But I usually prefer houses that are bills inclusive, because you already know everything you're spending for the whole month. But if a landlord is advertising a house for 800 and is saying it is not bills inclusive, that means you have to spend on other bills such as electricity, internet, some gas, and the rest. So it's a bit tricky. But if you're going to be looking at bills already covered in the rent, you look at, for flats, you'll be looking at houses from the range of £800 to £1,200 or even more, honestly. But I, as a person, I wasn't able to secure a flat. I had to stay in a shared apartment, like I said earlier. So what I was spending on rent was between £550 and £650, because I went to two different apartments that were shared. I had to move twice. So the first apartment was £550, the other one was £650. And the reason why the other one was £650 is because it was en suite. I wasn't going to share the toilet and bathroom. I was only going to share the kitchen. Okay, so this was £650. But the first one was £550 because every other amenity was shared. These two amounts were both bills inclusive. So for the whole month, I was spending £650 for rent, for water, for internet, for gas, and for electricity, which was kind of fair, just that in other parts of the UK it could have been cheaper than that. So if you find yourself in a city that is not really a major city center, or probably not a very big or site for tourists, it might be cheaper. You can see rent up to £450 and £500, all bills included. But I was spending £650 per month on my rent. So I'll go next to the other bills that you're supposed to pay, that water, electricity, internet, and gas. Okay, if your rent is bills included, you are covered. That means you already have a pinned down amount for rent. Although as a student, you're not required to pay council tax, but sometimes there are some houses that would require that you pay only because they want to take just professionals. They are not interested in students because they want the tenant to take care of the council tax. So if you decide that you're fine to pay the council tax, even as a student, then they might give you the apartment. But on a normal basis, as a student, you're not entitled to pay council tax. If your bills is not included in your rent, if you're going to be paying these extra bills aside, some of these bills would go up when it's winter, because you tend to use up more gas, you tend to use up the heater more, so that's more gas, more hot water, and then it's just because it's so cold, you can't kind of skip on these things, right? So during summer you can still survive, you can do without the heater for a long time, so these bills would actually fluctuate. So just have an idea that if you're going to have your bills separate, these other bills separate, you might be looking at close to 100 to 150 per month. So if your rent is say 450 and your bills is 150, that goes up to 600. But for me, I wasn't paying any extra bills. I was just paying between 550 and 650 per month. So let's go to the very next thing. Those bills are the major ones. Let's go to another major one, which is transport. I think when I was talking about a typical week in my life as a master's student, I talked about transport, where I shared my bus card. I showed you guys my bus card. If you've not seen that video, go and watch it. I'll link it up on the screen somewhere. I shared my bus card and I shared how much I usually pay for my bus. And the reason I explained that I use a bus card is so that I can pin down the money for my transport instead of just paying as I go. I just go to pay for about 28 days. You can pay for more than that. You can pay for 3 months. You can pay for 1 month. But 1 month is about £57, and that's what I pay. But on a non-busy month, probably on holiday month, I can just buy a day's ticket, maybe there's a particular day that I'll be going out more, or I just plan all my trips for a particular day and buy a day's ticket for about £4.5. If I am going to be paying for each trip, it will be between £2 to £4 just for a particular trip. And imagine that I go for so many trips, it would cost more than just buying a day's ticket or buying a month ticket. So it's better to just subscribe to a particular plan. And I just pay for £57 for transport. That's for bus transport. If I have to travel by train, it's a different ball game entirely. There are options for you if you would be traveling by train. There are cards that you can get, their subscription you can get. For example, if you're a couple, you can go to the train system office that you're using and just subscribe to a couple's card plan. I think that one will cost about £30 per year, and you just have to pay subsidized amount together as a couple whenever you want to travel, or any other thing that works for you. If you're below 25 as well, there is a plan for you. If you're between 26 and above or so, there is another plan for you. So just go and consider all of this so that your fares are subsidized and you just pay minimal amount when you are traveling. So that covers transport. Most times I do not have to travel by train. Bus is the major one, and I already tied it down with £57 per month. Another major one is subscription. So I talked about subscription as well last week, I think, when I was telling you 10 things to do first when you get to the UK. You can go watch that video as well. You will learn, especially if you're just coming into the UK. But subscription is not very expensive depending on how you use it, because someone like me as a student, there's already Wi-Fi in school that I can use 24/7. Also, internet is already in my house rent, so I have access to internet when I get home. The only reason why I might need to subscribe for internet on my phone is because probably I want to use Google Map when I'm on the road, I'm in the bus and I need to communicate, all of that. And the highest amount I spend per month on subscription is £10. So depending on how you use it, if you have to renew it, then you can spend up to 15 or 20, but I spend £10. Okay, I know there is a TV license subscription, but honestly that did not apply to me throughout the course of my student life because houses where I stayed did not have TV. So if you are going to be living in a house with TV, you're going to have to pay for TV license, and it costs between, based on my research, not based on experience, say £150 per annum. That's about £12.5 per month. So it's better for you to take that out and pay if you have a TV. Just find out about it so that you don't have to pay fines later on when the authorities find out that you have a TV. So I didn't have to pay for TV subscription. Last major one I have now is feeding. So feeding is a major one for me. It depends on where you get your groceries and food stuff and all of that. For example, if you get it in the local British shops, all of the shops here like Tesco, like Asda, like Lidl, it's quite cheaper, but you may not get everything you need there. So if you're buying things there in a month, you can spend up to like £100 on food based on groceries. But sometimes, because I'm Nigerian and there are some things that you're used to from your country and you have to get it in African shops and stores here in the UK. So there are shops like that, but it's more expensive to shop there. For example, let me give you a typical example. Noodles that we eat from Nigeria or every other part, it's not in these regular shops that I mentioned. It's not in Lidl, it's not in Asda, it's not in Aldi, it's not in Tesco. You have to go to African shops and it will cost like, say, £12 for a carton of noodles. It will cost over £12. Sometimes you just want to buy the small wheat like swallow or poundo yam, and it's costing, the small ones cost up to like £6. Sometimes you want to buy like fish, the fish that you find locally in Nigeria, mackerel fish, all of that. And at a goal, when you go to the African shop just once, you're already spending up to like £20 to £30 just because you got some few things that are very scarce to see in the UK. So I would say that if you go to the African store often, you'll be spending close to like £200 to £250 on food and groceries, okay? And then you go home to cook, you buy some other things, right? So it depends on where you get your food stuff. If you only stick to what they have here, you spend less, right? So let's say 100 to 150. But if you combine it with other African shops and other expensive items that you would not necessarily see here, it would be between 200 and 250 pounds. But for me, I was on an average of 150, let's say, per month. It varies depending, sometimes up to 200. And yeah, that's it. I think there are some other major things that you would also want to spend on, but these ones are secondary needs, such as entertainment. There's sometimes you want to just go out to eat, buy pizza. All of those extra spendings will come in as well, so you figure that out. But let's just say miscellaneous, you have extra 50 pounds, right? And if you're someone that would love to buy a lot of clothes, you want to shop, right? Yeah, it's very good to do those kind of things once in a while, especially based on weather. You know the way the weather will fluctuate here. Sometimes it's summer, sometimes it's winter. And these things, there are some items that are even very much important. If you don't have a good jacket, you might want to get a good jacket. And if you want to get a good jacket, you can never get something less than 30 to 40 pounds. Right? So it's going to be within that range. You have to factor in all of these things. But the major ones, they are rent and your bills, food, subscription, and transport. Every other thing, they are just things that will come and go. So I think we can now do a calculation from rent. For me, let's say 650 up to subscription 10 pounds, that's 660, up to transport 57, that's 717, I think. Then plus what other thing, food I said would be around 150, so let's just say 150. That's about 867. That's 867. And any other thing that you want to do. I don't do TV license, like I said. Yes, here and there I do shopping, I do entertainment. So let's just do 50 pounds for miscellaneous, or should we do 40? It actually depends. For me, it depends. So plus 40 pounds, that would be like 907, I think. So that's like 907. Okay, so for those of you that love to shop, that love to go out, see places, go to restaurants, go to bars, you might have to figure all of that in. But let's just approximate and say 900 for me, right? So the major one out of the 900 is my rent. Let's do some math here. 650 out of 900, what's the percentage? I feel like drawing a pie chart. But I won't bother. But let me do the calculation for you. 650 is what percentage of 900? That's about 72%. Okay, so you see that aside rent, is quite actually easy to live very comfortably here based on how you spend your money. Every other thing, you can always just be smart about your spending. Look out for discounts, look out for sales. There are sales in some of these shops that I mentioned, Lidl, Morrison, all of that. There are sales, there are things you can get cheaper because they are probably closer to their expiration date, or probably they stayed long on the shelf and then they just want to sell it out. Or even clothing, you can get sales, but there's actually nothing you can do about rent. So if you actually figure your rent out, and probably you're not the one that will be funding it, then you don't know what the Lord has done for you. You don't know what you're enjoying, right? That's what I spend on a typical month. Every other entertainment or enjoyment I do based on my budget, based on how much I have, based on how much I want to spend for the month. But in my budget, I must make sure that my fixed amount of rent is there. You can't go and meet your landlord and say, I don't have money for rent this month. It's not possible. At least you can still cut short on your spending and say, okay, this month I don't want to buy any extra thing. I don't want to shop. I don't want to go by train. Even your boss, sometimes if you do not have so many places to go, you can just pay as you go, and you won't even eventually spend up to 57 pounds, if you understand what I mean. But your rent is static. Other bills, if your rent is not bills inclusive, is static. If you're paying for TV license, it's static. If you're paying for council tax, it's static. But aside those bills, okay, you can actually live a comfortable life. So just make sure that when you get here, you go for a rent amount that fits in your budget, and every other thing is actually, you can always play around with it, right? So I hope this video helps, because I've come to the end of the video, and yeah, you'll see that I spend on an average between 800 and 900 pounds, or even more if I'm very generous with my spending, or if I have earned so much for the month. It is different. Disclaimer, this is not a generalized calculation. This is just something peculiar to me because I'm in Edinburgh. Some of you might say that rent is too expensive. When you come here, you know what I mean. Like I said, the 650 is, I'm just using the I figure. I paid for some months 550, for some months 650, and I explained the reason why I paid 650, right? So if even if I substitute the 650 for 550, it's still going to be about 800 spending, which I already said in the final amount. That's between 800 and 900, depending on what house I was in at the time of the month. It's not static. Wherever you find yourself, it might be higher, it might be lower. For someone that is a student in London, I want to believe that you guys will spend more. It's just the way the housing system in Edinburgh is. You might be lucky to get cheaper houses, but they might not be very comfortable. And if you are paying more, that means you are probably having a flat and you're living alone. So it's just based on your budget. Find what works for you. And if you can't, it's better that you just go to school and stay in school. I think the rent in school will also be within that range of 550 and 650, honestly, based on whether it's en suite or it's not en suite. So make your research and do what works for you. I hope this helps, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Thank you for watching. If you have any specific question, please ask me in the comments below. If you want to reach out to me, send me a mail or reach out to me with any of my contacts in the description box as well. If you have not subscribed yet, please click the subscribe button now on your screen and turn on the notification bell so that you can be a part of the family. And then make sure that you share this video with people. Give me a thumbs up. I would appreciate that. Give me a thumbs up. It would make my video to reach more audience. And then just engage with me, and I'll be glad when I see your engagement. Thank you so much. For the students that are just coming in, I welcome you, and I wish you a very good stay and a very good school session here in the UK. Thank you once again for watching. See you in my next video. Bye guys.